Something spoke the night before the doom. Not a person, not a dragon. Something above the oldest volcano. And we can only assume everyone heard it. But those that heard it died. Then the beacon chains went dark. All of them. Every ridge lamp, every lighthouse, every signal fire snuffed at the same moment. And Valyria went dark before it caught fire. Something was coming down. By the end of this video, you'll understand what the dragonlords did to deserve it. And why the most powerful civilization in history didn't fall. It was snuffed out. Throughout this series, we've peeled back the layers. The lie everyone in Westeros believes about the steel. The living forges inside the 14 flames. The enchantments that gave each blade a mind of its own. The bottom didn't come due to politics, and not a natural disaster. It's something that sounds insane until you look at all the evidence. And when you do, it's the only answer that fits. The gods destroyed Valyria. Or at least, that's what the oldest surviving records and the green seers of the Citadel suggest. And once you hear why, you're not going to be able to unhear it. Let's go back to the beginning. Before the forges, before the steel, before any of it, the Valyrians were shepherds, nobodies. They lived in the shadow of 14 active volcanoes and somehow didn't get wiped off the map. Their legends say a goddess, Therax, the Forge Mother, came down from the sky in the form of a living dragon and raised those volcanoes herself, breathed fire into the earth, built the 14 flames as a gift to any that would claim it. You can believe that literally, or call it myth, doesn't matter. What matters is what came next. According to every Valyrian sacred text that survived, Therax made a deal, a covenant, 2 promises, one from her, one from the Valyrians. Her promise was simple: I will give you everything. The volcanoes won't erupt. The forges will burn perfectly. The earth will stay solid beneath your roads, your cities, your hatcheries. You'll be the most powerful empire the world has ever seen, and the ground beneath you will never betray you. The Valyrians' promise was even simpler. Don't turn what I gave you against each other. Honor the forges. Protect the fire mages. They're the ones keeping the volcanoes tuned. And don't use my mountains, my dragons, or my steel to destroy your own people. That was the deal. That was the whole deal. And for 5,000 years, it held. Now think about what the Valyrians actually did. They assassinated each other's dragon riders, shattering bonds sealed by sacred fire. They poisoned dragon eggs in rival hatcheries, spitting in the face of Syrax, the goddess whose only job was protecting those eggs. They sabotaged each other's forges, temples that Therax built, and they murdered fire mages. The goddess's own hands killed them in their sleep to collapse enemy volcanoes and shut down rival steel production. All of it inside sacred spaces, under the shadow of the very mountains the gods gave them. Every dragonlord family swore the same oath when they received their forge, and every single one of them broke it. Not by accident, not in desperation, deliberately, systematically, for centuries. And here's what should bother you. The Valyrians knew what their gods were capable of. Their entire legal system was built on oath fire, a divine flame that burns people who break their word. Their courts, their contracts, their treaties, all sealed by fire that punishes liars. They knew the fire remembers, and they broke their oaths anyway. What happened next depends on which fragments you trust. But here's what the surviving accounts describe. The night before the doom, every beacon chain on the peninsula went dark. Not burned out, not blown by wind, extinguished at the same instant. Valyrian priests knew this signal. It was older than the freehold itself. The liturgy called it a congruent hour, a moment when the barriers between the mortal world and the divine thin out, and a god can physically step through. These were documented maybe a handful of times in 5,000 years. That rare, that terrifying. Then something spoke above the first flame, the oldest volcano, the one consecrated to the father of the gods, the deity who governed oath fire, the god of beginnings and endings. Nobody agrees on what the voice said. Some accounts describe a single word in High Valyrian, a word that meant both finished and returned to the fire. Others describe a sound, like the hiss of the largest blade ever forged being plunged into black water, a noise that flattened every dragon to the stone. And then the 14 flames erupted, all of them at the same time. But not the way volcanoes normally erupt, chaotic, random, pressure blowing wherever it can. These erupted in sequence, one after another, like something was untuning them, taking them apart in the reverse order they were built. Therax raised the 14 flames, and on the night of the doom, that gift was pulled back. The mountains were allowed to do what 14 active volcanoes should have done 5,000 years ago. Every forge, every vault, every crucible gone. The peninsula shattered, the sea rushed in and boiled, and here's what seals it for me. Daenys, the dreamer, a Targaryen girl, had a prophetic vision 12 years before the doom. She convinced her father to pack up the family and flee to Dragonstone. The other dragonlord families laughed, called them cowards. But think about what she actually dreamed. She didn't dream of random volcanoes going off. She dreamed of Valyria being destroyed, total annihilation. Prophetic dreams in this world come from the gods. They're called dream chords, messages sent from the divine across the gap between heaven and earth. If Daenys received that dream 12 years early, she didn't predict a natural disaster. She received a warning, a mercy. One family told to get out before the hammer dropped. The other 39 families, nothing. No warning, no mercy. Because the judgment wasn't meant for those who would leave. It was meant for those who stayed. Look, I know how this sounds. The gods did it. Sounds like mythology, like something priests tell to scare people into behaving. But explain this. 14 volcanoes sit side by side for 5,000 years without a single catastrophic eruption. And then all 14 erupt simultaneously in sequence. On the same night, the beacons go dark and something speaks above the oldest flame. That's not geology. That's not bad luck. That's a sentence being carried out. The 200 Valyrian steel blades in Westeros aren't relics. They're evidence of a divine execution. Each was forged in a temple, blessed by a god, and sealed with blood under sacred oath. And whoever blessed that steel watched the families who wielded it break every promise they ever made. The forges weren't casualties of the doom. They were the reason for the doom. The gods gave the freehold everything. The freehold used it to tear itself apart. And the power that lit the forges took back the flame. Maybe Tommen Lannister sailed into the smoking sea and never came home because the ruins are dangerous. Or maybe those ruins are still sacred ground. And whatever lives above the first flame is still watching, still listening, and still deciding who walks out. I'm your maester at the Black Dread. This has been the complete Before Valyrian Steel series. The doom ended Valyria, but it wasn't the mountains that decided. Subscribe, share this series, and think about this. Oath fire doesn't burn the innocent. If you can hold one of those blades and nothing happens, maybe that's a good sign. Or maybe the fire just hasn't woken up yet.